Hey guys, Rebel95 recording live in your local county prison cell. It's been a minute. There was some stuff on Twitter where I couldn't post pictures, which means I couldn't do the thumbnails for my videos to cross promote. Not that it does any good there, but it's just I like to do it. But yeah, this is gonna be my video for the next few weeks probably, because I do have some stuff going on in the next few weeks, so I wouldn't count on me being available to put anything together. But this is one that I actually kind of just found out about today, and it came out of a desire for me to do a Ben 10 character. But it's Michael Morningstar versus Diodora Astaroth. Michael Morningstar from Ben 10, Diodora Astaroth from High School DxD. It's bad reasons that these two have comparisons. It's not good. But we'll go into that more in the analysis. Both of these characters actually have very limited fights in the series, or in their respective series. So this is going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of character analysis in the analysis parts of this, just to warn you. So we'll start with Michael Morningstar. If the name Morningstar didn't tip you off, well, I'll explain. I'll explain how that goes in a second. So in Alien Force, we first meet Michael Morningstar, and he's this perfect ideal teammate. Yeah, we need this guy on our team. We're gonna fight the hybrid invasion, right? He's powerful. He's willing to help. He's resourceful. But first we got to solve the mystery of all of these teenage girls going missing in town. Yeah, what's up with that, right? As it turns out, without really going into what his race is, because I don't think they ever say it, or what his species is rather, he's what's called a plumber's kid, which means that he, one of his parents was an alien and the other was a human, so he got put on Earth for his protection. And though actually I don't know if he's a plumber's kid, but he does have access to plumber technology somehow. So Michael has the ability to absorb life energy, which we later find out is mana. And at first he was able to do this via touch, right? And yeah, he would have to do this. He would touch you and he would absorb your energy, and that would fuel his powers. His powers of flight, shooting energy blasts from his hands, etc., etc. And I think it also affected him physically. He could, he got strength, speed, etc., etc. And those teenage girls that went missing, yeah, Michael kind of seduced them and manipulated them, and when he was draining away their mana, would kind of turn them into, mindless zombies that kind of fell in love with him. And he would sort of convince them that they needed him and they needed to stay together so that he could, keep siphoning off of them. Until he met Gwen, who didn't know this at the time, but being an Anodite means she's pure mana and pure, a lot of it, right? So was kind of the perfect fuel source for him. To the point where when he absorbed most of her power, he became pretty much unstoppable. I mean, Kevin tried to fight him, and he got the quite literally and figuratively the bricks beat off of him. Ben wasn't able to stop him, right? It wasn't until Gwen basically took her power back by, apparently you can do that. You can just reverse the power, right? Yeah, and all the other girls took their power back to the point where he ran out of energy and became a husk. But that's not where the story ends. You see, in being forced into this form where he was incredibly drained, his powers seem to have gone through a sort of evolution, and he became known as Dark Star. He would wear a mask to cover himself. He was, doing a really bad Doctor Doom impression. And he would still be able, he still had all of those abilities, but his strength and speed and whatnot seem to have been permanently boosted from this. Like, because we see him even in this decrepit form ripping metal doors apart and throwing giant slabs of stone. I guess when he's like starving, he gets more powerful. And his energy is further increased when he absorbs energy from people now. It's almost like his power, like I said, it's almost like his powers went through an evolution when he was brought to the brink of like starvation, because he does need energy to survive. Like, he will die without it. And then even later on, we find out that he's able to siphon mana from people remotely, like without even touching them. As when he debuts as Darkstar, he probably didn't have a full understanding of his powers, but they sent a swarm of DN aliens after him, and he was having trouble keeping up with them, like absorbing them, because he had to do it by hand. But then in the fight against the hybrid invasion, we see him like fly into the air and just start draining like 10 DN aliens at once. So he's definitely, able to, like, that's definitely something he can do, though we do see for some reason any sort of like energy field he has problems with, because even though he can absorb mana remotely, Gwen putting up a barrier made of mana was able to hold him off. But again, that could just be him at that time not knowing what he could do. And and pretty much every other time he shows up in the show after that, he's there to betray, manipulate and betray somebody. He is, like I said, if the name Morningstar didn't tip you off, he's not really somebody who can be trusted. This includes using the ancient alien artifact, the Dominus Librum, with Kevin to reverse Kevin's permanent mutation that disfigured him. And and he ends up betraying Kevin with that too, using the Dominus Librum, which is an artifact that has, I know I said that Morningstar can absorb energy. This is, I guess, an artifact that would be able to drain power in its entirety, I guess. He was able to, it was able to take Kevin's power from him, and it was able to steal Gwen's power and Swampfire's power, but all of those are technically DNA, so I guess it's able to just take any power from that's innate to a being. So that's pretty crazy. I mean, it is like supposed to be this all-power piece of alien tech. That even got destroyed. It's powerful enough that it even got destroyed and stopped working, but then just the center of it that Michael keeps on him one time after getting supercharged to fight Kevin after Kevin absorbed all of Ben's aliens and whatnot, it allowed him to be part of a device that would siphon the rest of Kevin's stolen power. Long story. He tried to betray them there too, and actually reached his golden form again, which puts into perspective how strong he would be in his golden form, but we'll get into that in a second. Of course, they had planned for him to betray them and reversed it and all that. But this guy's a dick. He's not a nice person. Even people like Charmcaster, who is enough of a betrayer herself, was seduced by him to the point where she brought him to Ledger Domain, which is a realm made entirely of mana. So, and he could absorb it remotely from that world and basically like have an never-ending infinite source of mana to absorb. And he pretty much still wanted to get revenge on Gwen. Yeah, but that's Michael Morningstar. Now on to Diodora. Diodora is he's a demon of noble blood from a high-ranking, house, right? I'm trying to get all the not horrific stuff out of the way. And I guess you would say in his attempt to climb the ranks of powerful demons, he's also, a manipulator and a betrayer. He achieves this, though, more so by having a affinity for nuns. And essentially what he does is he basically gets these nuns to do any number of things that would get them excommunicated from their faith, so that he's able to then corrupt them and mentally and physically. And when they're at their lowest point of despair, he can actually reincarnate them. It's called reincarnation. It's more just transformation. He transforms them into, demon slaves who become like foot soldiers for him. And he makes it a point to do this to nuns, by the way. Young nuns. Yeah, it's a thing. And yeah, and because of that, he fancies himself this all-powerful demon lord. Now, to be fair, he does have an effective means of magic. He can shoot energy blasts. He can create, and he can conjure blades out of nothingness to strike at you. And then the other big thing he does is he creates barriers and magic circles and shields that are especially durable in as far as the magical world goes. And he pretty much just sits there behind a barrier, chucking projectiles at you and talking about how amazing he is or how stupid you are. If he played Blaze Blue, he'd be an Arukane main. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, this guy's a jerk for multiple reasons. And that's before he got his power-up from the goddess Ophis, which was his snake. Now, in High School DxD, there are these things referred to. I can't remember exactly what they're called. They're like magical weapons that are like a part of a person, right? What these snakes do is they give somebody like a very tremendous power up, to the point where Diodora, despite never training a day in his life, was able to actually defeat a well-renowned and a well-renowned protege daughter of a high-ranking demon house who happened to be the love interest of Issei. And and best her in one-on-one. So it's enough to make this complete just bitch of a guy who never fights anyone. It was enough to get him to actually beat this girl one-on-one. Those with these magic items, the snake actually what it does is it forces the potential out of you. So it's like the unlock potential thing in Dragon Ball Z, I guess. Except it does it physically and violently, and if you have one of these weapons, it can possibly kill you, because these weapons are very sensitive in how they power up, and if it does it wrong, it can kill the user. Diodora doesn't have one of these weapons, but ever since getting the Apophis snake, he got this big power up and again believes himself to be this unstoppable, guy. Yeah, so getting into the fight here. Again, there's not much really to go into with the characters, and because they don't really fight that often. First and foremost, if this ever came down to hand, which it probably wouldn't, Michael would beat the shit out of Diodora. He would absolutely annihilate him. In whatever form he was in, even if he was, not only could he drain him, I mean, if we're assuming mana is life energy, there are beings in Ben 10 that are immune to him, such as I think they're called the Ectoneurites, Ghost Freaks race, because they're not living in the same way that other beings are. They don't have mana, so they can't be drained of it. But even if we're not taught, I would assume that like a demon would still have life energy or some equivalent of it. And again, even before they really knew what mana was, they were able to, draw from it. Yeah, and like the magic inherent, like the magic that Diodora uses is of his blood. It's like he's born with the ability to do it. So it's not like a learned thing or a skill. It's his house has that ability. So that is what I would consider an innate property to him. You can maybe see where I'm going with this. So, but yeah, Michael, even as a powerless human, he decked Kevin in the face and gave him a black eye. So like he's already better at fighting than Diodora is. Now the thing is, Michael, even though he can remotely drain mana from people, we know he has problems specifically with energy barriers, even if they are made of mana. So any attempts at like, oh, well, he can drain the magical energy from the barrier, I don't think that that's going to be a thing, because we've seen that he's not able to do that in the past. What he is able to do is drain the mana of all of the demon girl nuns that Diodora will probably be sending after him, which will just piss Diodora off, more than likely. These both have energy projectiles, so like a lot of their powers aren't really too much of a factor here. So the real question is, what is Michael going to do against these energy fields? Because we've seen them broken, but we've seen them broken by a character whose power is literally the concept of domination, and who can just at infinitum multiply his strength over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where it's just like an inevitability that he will become strong enough to break, right? So like no matter how, so like that's the reason Issei was able to break through the barrier. But also I would say it's fair that if we want both of these characters at max power, I wouldn't say that Michael gets like the rune to enter Ledger Domain that Charmcaster gave him, because like that was in one episode and it was removed that episode, or he doesn't get to like, he probably wouldn't get to like manipulate the rock people, like her rock people that she creates, which she gave him the ability to do, but again took it back that same episode, which is a shame because that would be helpful against the demon girls, but like I said, he can just drain the mana anyway. But considering he does have the Dominus what was it again? The artifact. He does have that still in his possession, so if he was able to supercharge that enough, like absorb enough energy, he would be able to use that, and that way we could give Diodora the Apophis snake, even though that was also taken from him at some point. So Diodora can power himself up, but again, he still does not know how to fight, and he hides behind barriers and spams projectiles against people. However, the artifact the Dominus thing, like I said, can steal any innate power of an individual pretty much. So, and steal it, not copy it, not drain it slowly, like just take it and store it, and then Michael can give it to himself. So his out to, I mean, it does require that Diodora touch it, but Diodora doesn't really have a means to kill Michael because, like I said, he's not very good at fighting. And if he's just hiding behind the barrier infinitely, and, Michael's eventually going to find a way, because Michael is a smart guy, believe it or not. He's not, he's smart and crafty, I would say. It feels very bad complimenting Michael Morningstar. I guess in a broad sense, and this is a very non-effective way to look at the scenario and look at the facts I've provided here, or look at the information I've provided. I don't want to call them facts. Michael manipulated people and exploited people and used them to gain power, to like get what he wanted. Diodora manipulated and abused people to make himself feel powerful, right? None of what he obtained, like he obtained servants, right? He obtained people who would fight for him, but he didn't get stronger from it. Michael directly gets more powerful from, right? Which makes him more, more capable than Diodora. And I mean, if we did give Michael access to Ledger Domain, I mean, that's over, because then he would be capable of gaining that infinite level of power that would be necessary to break through the barrier. If he couldn't already, because, and I'm going to try to make this quick here, we see that Michael draining the energy from Gwen made him in his golden form. Now you think, oh, well, what? Okay, he's strong enough to blast Kevin and blah, blah, blah. He wasn't really trying. And we know that Gwen's power output is, like, enough to basically, like, devastate a planet if she wanted to. And also, he had entered his golden form after he drained all of the energy and DNA of the 10 new aliens that Ben had from Kevin. Now, Kevin's Osmosian powers only take a tenth of, they kind of sponge off, like, and copy the powers of those he fights, or those he takes from, but it's only, like, as tenth as strong. So if he takes a rock, it's only got, like, a tenth of the structural integrity. If he takes, if he absorbs electricity, he can only use, like, a tenth of the wattage. So all the powers he took from Ben's aliens were only a tenth, but he also was going around taking powers from all these other aliens that he was finding. So, like, it was actually a lot more than that. And if you combined all of those aliens and their destructive potential, even at a tenth, and combined them all, and then you add that power to Michael, I mean, that's considerably a lot. So his golden form's maybe not too much to scoff at. And when you look at Ledger Domain being like an infinite space, whether or not we give it to him, I mean, that would just be an instant wrap. But even ignoring that, if he's able to steal using the Librium, that was it, the Dominus Librium, if he's able to steal Diobora's magic and take it for himself, it's over. If he's able to start draining Diobora's life energy, basically, if Michael gets any offense in whatsoever, he pretty much wins at this point. So Diodora literally has to just spam shield and projectiles forever, which he's not going to be able to do. Eventually, like I said, he's not smart, he's not capable. I hate both these characters, but I hate Diodora a lot more, if you can't tell. So I think Michael Morningstar wins. Anyway, I feel bad for giving either of these male manipulators any sort of credit for anything, but that's how I feel it goes. Rebel 95, see ya.